Hey, hey, hey. We're back. We're black. We're brown. Ambition. 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 Hey, Mandra, how you doing, girl?
Hey, it's an extra chocolate day today. Extra brown. Extra brown. We have some very special guests today. I'm doing good. We were just doing like a little bit of like a woo-saw before the company arrives. Because if I don't bake in like a half hour before my company gets here, then that's the time. I never schedule it, so great. I'm usually like cleaning and doing stuff to the last second. So having like a little bit of like a, take your shoulders back, roll them back, get a little woo-saw, do a little stretch is helpful. But I am excited about today's show.
Me too.
Yeah, Two Black Girls, One Rose, the incredible podcast that I don't even call it a guilty pleasure. But these two gals, Justine and Natasha, who are joining us today, they've been doing the show about as long as we've been doing Brown Ambition. And we're going to talk all about the business of podcasting, but more particularly like what it's like to be best friends running a business together. And both of them are full-time, Two Black Girls, One Rose. So we're going to get into that. It's also been like, do you remember having Dr. Joy in the podcast?
Yes, of course.
Last
it was
year?
transformative for both of us.
Yes, I still think about that. What an impact she has as a human being.
Yes.
But yeah, Dr. Joy from Therapy for Black Girls came on about this time last year. She had a new book coming out, Sisterhood Heals. And yeah, I mean, we had some real deep conversations. Maybe we'll do like are we planning a hollaback episode with Dr. Joy's interview? Because we should if we haven't. But yeah, I mean, in the years since then, I feel like I've aged in my like my friendship, like my mentality around friendship. I feel like an old lady now, like a little bit like I've seen some stuff. Things ain't what they used to be. It's a bit heavy. What about you, Tiff? Like reflections on sisterhood relationships in the past year?
I feel like, I had a big kind of like friend breakup probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
And since then, so that was like kind of like a big pivotal aha, because it was kind of like the final phase of friendship Tiffany that I didn't really like. She was a bit of a pushover. And so as a result, she either attracted or brought out kind of people who like to push.
Past Tiffany.
Yeah, past Tiffany.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And so I had that big, epiphany when I finally was like, yeah, I feel like this is not how it's supposed to go. So since then, I have been really fortunate. I still have boundary stuff that I work on, but I have been fortunate to have really good discernment that I have not invited. So I never not had, remember we used to call it a bully friend? I have never not had a bully friend. And so for the fact, it was 40, because I remember thinking like, girl, get it together. It was 40.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, so I'm turning 45 this year, so it was 5 years ago. And so now, it's been 5 years. I do not have any bully friends. I feel really comfortable telling my friend, I know. And if you to know me, you have to know. Like I am a pushover, like a people pleasing. Push over, please like me. Don't be mad.
Wait, go back to the past tense.
So
I liked it better when you were like, she was.
Right, but not anymore. That like now, I'm somebody who sets boundaries. I'm still kind. I'm still gentle. But I also am more discerning about allowing certain people into my life. And also just not, I am not the same Tiffany at all. And so it also spilled over into business and how I navigated with the people that I work with and work for me. The thing I realize is that I don't want to feel afraid in friendships. And when I look at my friends, my friend Linda, you, Cabral, Rihanna, Jermaine, like when I think about my friends and my sisters, and I'm not afraid to show up as Tiffany, imperfect Tiffany. I am free to show up fully and be like, and so that is my measuring stick. And so it's not a loss. It wasn't a loss when I let that person go. And it's certainly not a loss now because I wasn't free to be myself. I always had to shine a little less because for whatever reason, it brought out something negative in them. And that's honestly not my problem, but it's different from what's happening with you. But I feel really good because I can look around and Dr. Green always reminds me that like I over-index in love. You know, that
I'm
like,
saying.
you know what I mean? When I look around and I'm just like, oh man, between my family, my friends, even dating now, I over index in love. So what do I look like keeping somebody who doesn't care about me in the way that I deserve? So yeah, like I said, for me, it's different because that friendship had soured a long time ago, but the business kept it going. And then once I
Okay.
realized how the friendship ended, I said, I want to work on our friendship. Let's cut the business component. And they were like, no, I want to keep the business component. And I was like, wow. So even after all these years, you're choosing the business over our friendship. And that's when I realized, girl, ain't no friendship. You dating yourself. And so I was like, well, I don't want the business component either. And so, no, like I said, and from there, which is so crazy, from there, my business actually started to explode. Like the area of the business that they help with, I realized it was almost like they were purposely keeping me back. You know, not even almost, they were in some areas. And so that part of my business started to explode. Some of you asked, like, I remember you, Tiffany, here, and then Tiffany to go to here. One of the reasons from the explosion was I had let go of like that person. And, you know, I know they're kind of part because, you know, here's the thing. I know that they're going to listen because their friends are going to tell them. And I do. And I know because I also know that there is always I'm the victim. And I'm here to say that, like, honestly, I hope that you're well. I don't harbor any ill will. I do hope that you're well. I don't follow them on social media or anything like that anymore, so I don't know. But you know, I hope that one day, you know, I try my best to look in the mirror and say, here are the places that I fall short. But to me, you know, I was a good friend, and yeah, it was, you know, there was just some abuse. I mean, sometimes this person used to be like, would you call me stupid? Or like name call. And I'm like, and I would say, I don't like that. They're like, oh girl, you're just being so sensitive. I'm just saying. And so I know this is as a grown woman. This is not no 17-year-old Tiffany. This is 39-year-old Tiffany. Yeah. And there was just a lot of like underhanded stuff. So I just say all that to say, I do really hope that they're well. And, you know, like I said, I know they're going to listen to this and be like, cause that is one of their go-tos. Like, oh my God, see what they mean? It's against me. Look what they did to me. And, you know, I'm not gonna tell their business about like why I believe that the victim thing is like, you know, part of their like, you know, their defense
Narrative.
mechanism. I suspect I know where it comes from. Of course, I don't know all their business, but so I'm not going to share that part. But I know that that's probably what's going to be the default. But I hope for once you stop to say, how did I get here? Because I know how I got there with them and allowing somebody to mistreat me. I know the roles that I played, how I even encouraged some of the mistreatment. And I just hope that, like, you know, for anyone who kind of is like navigating with a friend and it's not working out, and to ask, like, how did I get here? Because I always say people didn't get there by themselves. Like, she and I participated in the demise. Like, I have to own the parts that I brought to the table and say, Tiffany, you know, girl, like you're bugging when it comes to this, you know, but, and maybe one day she will, but quite honestly, that has nothing to do with me, girl, because while over here is nothing but love and kindness and really good people like you, Mandi, in my life, and people that just love on me and care about me and I feel safe with. Like, that is so critical. Like, I feel so safe with the people that I allow into my life right now. And I did not always feel that before, but I know that I'm worthy and deserving of that. And so are you. You know, so are you.
I'll nod.
You are. You are.
I think what's crazy is how I'm listening to you and I'm like really hearing everything that you're saying, and I'm hearing that you can identify so clearly what your role was in that and what her role was, and like I'm really impressed by that. I think what also I feel like it is like the flip of my experience in this one specific way. I have I have had the hardest year in my business because of this. I think in part because of this breakup, this friendship breakup, and as you're speaking, I'm realizing that a lot of what was driving me as a business owner was that this person was going to see it and be there alongside and cheer me on and like be excited about it. I'm a great storyteller. I always have been, but I also told myself a very colorful, chapters and chapters of this story that just was not even happening. It was just, and I realized like when that person, when I was like, I see behind the curtain and I see that there's no one there, it was, I'm still reckoning with that. Like, wait, what was my motivation? That's really screwed up. It was a part of it for sure. And I'm having a hard time like tapping back into that level of drive and motivation. Of course, like other stuff happened this year, but thank God I didn't choose her to start Brown Ambition with. Because I, like you, in an alternate universe, was gonna do a podcast potentially.
Yes. Remember, I was like, I got invited to do a podcast. Remember, like I remember I told you.
Yes, I know. Right before. I love this story.
Right?
I'm like,
right. So I was
they're lost.
Somebody invited me, and then I said yes, actually. And then, I mean, to their credit, they were really. This is not the same friend. To their credit, they were honest. They said, I don't know if a friend, a mentor, whatever, said that they shouldn't do a podcast with me. I can't remember why. It sounded like basically like. We're do something similar and she might take your audience. I don't even know. It was something.
Yeah, it's like a competitive thing. Just like there's not enough room.
Yes. And she'll
overshadow you.
Something
did
like that. I was like, okay. And I would, like I said, to her credit, she was completely transparent. And I remember being like, I don't get it. This was at least 10 years ago. And I was like, or maybe 8, I don't even know. No, it had to be like, 8, 9 years ago. And I just was like, oh, okay. Cause I didn't even know what a podcast was. So I just thought, oh, there's a project and you want to do it because you think I'm gonna do too much or outshine or whatever. So my feelings were hurt, but I just said, okay, girl. And then I think like not even a month later, you asked me and you said, do you want to do a podcast? And I was like, in my mind, I was like, is she gonna tell me she don't want to do it either? And
oh no.
And so I said, okay. And even then at that time, we were baby friends, because like.
Barely knew each other really on a real level.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you asked me before or after you took that long walk in New Orleans, which that was like our.
It was after, during, something, whatever. Right? I just remember at that conference we were talking about it. I remember that.
It was so crazy. We took this long, like, if we were dating, it would have been such a romantic walk. Yeah. It was awesome. I got to know Mandi better.
It's a meet cute.
Yes. It was great.
I have the best meet cutes with girlfriends.
We started off as like, we knew each other and, we were starting to develop like, a connection. And then it was through the podcast that really our friendship really heavily developed, which could be tricky, because it's not we don't have a friendship or relationship to fall back on. Like if it didn't work out in the beginning, but now here we are. And ideally here our guests are, I think we have our guests. I'm going to start calling guests company. I love that. Hey, we got company.
All right, BA fam, are you guys ready? It is quadruple threat today. We have some incredible guests in the virtual stew. We have Justine and Natasha from Two Black Girls, One Rose, our alternate universe Brown Ambition, I feel like, podcast. Where, I don't even know how to describe you. You guys are like a pop culture review and just like when you are ready to nerd out with someone and just like talk about the show that you're obsessed with, but maybe other people don't have the time to spend 2 hours nitpicking every single part of it. This is a show that you want to tune into. Welcome, Natasha and Justine.
Oh, thank you, Mandi. Thanks for having us. Hey, Tiffany.
Okay, so one of the reasons we're excited to have you on the show is because you, like us, are two besties who are running a business together. So can y'all talk about the origin of the podcast, your friendship, and how that's like evolved over time?
Sure. We met in high school, so we go way back. We've been friends for over 15 years.
Over 15. Yeah. We've been saying 15 for like, for the past 5 years. 19 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
know. but yeah, our friendship goes way back to high school. We both went to like this small little all girls, very white private school, met there. And our friendship actually started with TV, funny enough. Justine, we had mutual friends. She was in a year below me. So I kind of like knew her, but I found out somehow that she had the Laguna Beach DVDs. And
Laguna Beach.
I would go to Laguna Beach. I would go to the student lounge with her, and we would just watch DVDs and like chat together and like kiki and laugh and have fun. And so we've been watching TV and chatting shit for quite a long time.
A long time.
A long time.
But you guys were like living the Laguna Beach experience too, kind of. Like,
Not at all. We were black, so not at all. We were observing the Laguna Beach experience from the outside. That's why I had the DVDs. I was like, that's what y'all doing?
as a fellow girl,
That's
like
what
it
I'm
was
not invited
as a
to.
fellow girl who was, went to school with all white people as well. You can do. I can attest that you could be at the school, but not in the school, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Observing. Absolutely. Yeah.
like learning about their culture through reality TV as well.
Precisely.
To understand the locals.
Yeah, literally.
What is this culture?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Damn. So y'all met in high school only 15 years ago,
Yes.
right? We settled on that math. It works out. God. Okay. So then what? Did college come after that? Careers? Like when did when did your relationship become like, oh, we should go into business together?
Yeah.
That actually came. We started a podcast, but we did not think about starting a business because we started 6 years ago. Yeah, when it was a hobby. It was like a really fun thing for us to do. Our goal literally was if 40 people who don't know our mothers listen to this podcast, this is a real success. That was our goal. And then we got like tens of thousands of downloads within the first month. Like it was crazy success.
Whoa.
And then after about a year and a half, we were like, what are we doing? Like, we need to make money. What are we doing? This is like really crazy. People were demanding the show. If we uploaded it late, people were tweeting at us, where's the show? Where's the show? Where's the show? We were at our jobs like, I'm sorry, we have to edit it. It was a little wild. So the demand became to be a lot. We went to Patreon, and then the rest is history. After April 2019, May 2019, something like that.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you guys talked about on the show? What was the first like focus?
It was
The Bachelor. Yeah. So we so at the time I live in Harlem currently. Justine was living in Washington Heights. We were like besties hanging out, running around the city, two single girls having fun. And then Rachel Lindsay was named the Bachelorette. She was the first Black Bachelorette. I've always watched The Bachelorette. Justine had only really watched it like in passing, I guess. And so I was like, bitch, we're watching this. So every Monday we would get wine. I would go to her place. Next week she would come to my place and we would watch Rachel Lindsay and just like kiki all night long. She would go, the show was from like 8 to 10 p.m. Justine would be like getting an Uber at like 1 a.m. Like we'd still be just like hanging out, just chatting. And then during Rachel Lindsay's season, we also discovered just the world of Bachelor podcasts. Like we were obsessed with Rachel Lindsay. So I was like, I want to hear more commentary. And that's when we discovered these other Bachelor podcasts, but they're all hosted by white people. And it felt like they were watching a completely different show. It's like they're not capturing the nuances of this Black woman's experience. Like what Justine and I were talking about is totally different from what they were talking about. And so we're like, let's start our own podcast. Let's do it. And we just kind of like put some ideas together one day and bought some cheap microphones on Amazon and just wanted to just like have fun and just like capture our conversations of making each other laugh. And then, really the rest is history.
What was like the first like
I was looking for y'all
official business move? So I'd say like Mandy and I were saying, she's like, you want to do a podcast? I was like, yeah, what's that? Because it was so long ago. It was like 8 years ago, 9 really. So I'm like,
almost 9.
what does that even mean? But I was like, sure, girl, you cool. But to your point as well, it was a hobby. We didn't know how to monetize because I didn't even know you could do that. So what was the first step toward like monetization and making it like a business that you guys took?
Yeah, I think we had covered maybe 2 or 3 seasons at this point.
I think more.
Or more.
It was more.
We did
Winter
spin-off
Games.
seasons.
We were doing all kinds of
Bachelor
stuff.
in
We had
Paradise,
probably done like 8. We'd probably done a lot of seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. But we were heading into Hannah B. She was named the Bachelorette. And Justine and I were like, we gotta get paid if we're gonna cover this girl season. Like this is we were not excited for
I don't know
her.
anything
Fool at the time. Oh my God. She couldn't do nothing but pageant smile, that Hannah Brown, for a long time.
For a long time. So we're like, if we're gonna watch this season, this is starting to feel like work. We're like making, we're getting crazy download numbers, but for what? Like, what are we doing with this? And we weren't excited about this upcoming Bachelorette. So we're like, how do we couldn't figure out the ad space. So we're like, how can we monetize this? How can we feel like there's like, we're getting some type of ROI? And we discovered Patreon. We both are big podcast listeners, and we heard a lot of other podcasters mentioning, setting up a Patreon, having bonus content there. And so that was the big move for us at that time to move all of our content over to Patreon. So telling our listeners, if you want to hear us recap Hannah B season, you need to join us on Patreon to hear it. And so that was the first time we allowed to monetize, and the first time we were starting to think of this as a business and making decisions for the sake of compensation and whether or not we want to do it.
But you do have ads now, right?
Now
when
we do,
that,
yeah.
Oh, okay. When did that come around?
Oh man, that was over a long period of time that we started doing ads because we got seduced by an agency for a very, very long time.
What does that mean?
The salesperson was after us.
Seduced, but there was no fruition.
We were
like every couple months. Hey, how are you guys doing? Are you guys checking in on this? Like, are you considering ad monetization? Are you considering it?
Yeah.
Can you consider it? Can you do 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 it?
Okay.
Yeah.
And we were putting.
And you guys were thinking, what? No, don't want to.
Well, we were putting
Happy
our
with Patreon.
Our full episodes on Patreon and then cutting teaser episodes for the public feed. And so that agency was like, we can put ads on those teasers, which we didn't even think was a thing. We're like, could we actually make money off of that? And as Justine said, they courted us for so long. We're like, all right, let's try it. And so then we started, placing ads on those teaser episodes. And then, fast forward to maybe last year, we kind of made a decision with our business model to start putting full episodes on the public feed.
Okay.
And then kind of morphing our Patreon into just truly bonus content.
Okay.
So then, we were able to, over time, kind of evolve our business model to be able to make multiple streams of income.
I was going to ask you, because I'm always so curious about how Black and brown girls making money. So what are your streams of income, that you're currently like, ooh, yes.
Patreon. That's a big one. Ads on the podcast. We're trying to dive into social media, monetizing Instagram, TikTok eventually. We just did our first live event yesterday. So that's also just yesterday.
Last night.
What was it?
We did a live watch party for the Bachelorette's premiere that just
a
season.
ticketed thing where people can join you to watch. What platform do you use for that?
Oh, it was
an in-person event.
In-person event, yeah.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah, at a bar in Brooklyn that is known for bachelor watch parties, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
That's
I do
dope.
remember seeing that on social and being like,
Yeah.
why is everything got to be in Brooklyn? Why do I live so far away?
So
Y'all save me, I'm in Westchester.
Oh, yeah.
God, yeah. So yeah,
I also
live
don't know
format. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I just don't know at what point in our relationship to confess to you that I don't watch The Bachelor.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about The Bachelor, but we cover a lot of other shows.
You've
as well.
branched out, yeah. I'm excited for
we cover
your
a lot of
Sex and
stuff.
the City recaps. I'm kind of
yes.
saving those, but the way that I found them, Tiff, was through their Bridgerton content, and the same thing. I imagine what the Bachelorette fans felt is exactly what I felt when I saw y'all on IG. I was like, yes, where has this conversation been? Because Bridgerton is not. I mean, it is Shondaland, it is diverse and all of that, but everyone who's talking about Bridgerton in the podcast space does not, even if they're not white, they're not having the same kinds of kiki conversations like you guys are
that
having.
clip
And I was like,
of how talking about Cressida's hair. I was rolling. I said, yes. I was like, where's my tambourine? I'm about to because I feel like Black humor is unmatched. because like we're so unserious, right? Because
So
I mean,
unserious.
everything can
Crazy.
be hiked on, and so like, and just stuff that you might have thought in your head, and so when you bring it up, you're like, I was thinking that, but not consciously, and so it just, it just, I was literally rewatching it today, and I was howling at how funny it was.
That's fun.
So can we back up a little bit? I'm the career girly here. I want to hear about what were y'all doing 9 to 5 before this, and when did you what did y'all together decide we're ready to leave 9 to 5, and how do you divide the labor? Because that's something Tiffany and I are still working, not working through, but can shift over time.
Yeah, I was in and out of so many different jobs. I probably had 1, 2, 3, 4 solid jobs, like 9 to 5s, before I quit and did the podcast full time. And most of them were with terrible bosses. I don't know if you guys have ever worked with an agency or smaller agencies that, may be third party people.
Like a recruiting agency?
Any kind of agency, any kind of, I worked for a promotional products company. I worked for a third party HR tech company. I worked for a nonprofit. The nonprofit was probably the worst job I've ever had.
I've been trying to tell you about nonprofits and talks at
It was the worst. And it was all women too. It was all women, mostly women of color. It was the worst job I've ever had by far. But I also worked with a lot of white male cokeheads in the agency space. That was a big thing. So I worked with a lot of mediocrity. I learned how to maneuver a lot of different spaces, but it wasn't until I got to the last job I was at that I actually learned how to run a business, because they were actually doing well. And I never poo-poo on people who have 9 to 5s or the 9 to 5 lifestyle, because honestly, if you are in a group of people who is working towards one goal and you somewhat like each other, that's it. That's the goal. There's none of this, you got to get an LLC. You don't have to. Just sit down and work somewhere where you get a steady check. It's fine. But that job over COVID became a bad job. It was a great job until it wasn't. And so when I started making more on the podcast that I did in my 9 to 5, that's when I quit. Because I was like, this is not, I might as well invest in this other thing if they're not going to promote. I didn't get promoted one time when I was there for 3.5 years. And I had the most clients out of everybody. I had the biggest book of business, and I never got promoted once in 3 years. I got 1 raise, maybe 2. So
damn, but you built something else, and you built your way out of it, which is incredible.
Yeah. The best career advice I actually got for Black girls, and any Black girls listening, especially if you're working on your own business, working on your own little side hustle, be invisible. Be invisible at work, because they're going to be gooped and gagged when you quit.
Ooh, I love that. I love getting gooped or gagged. I do. I love people be underestimate me and be like, girl. Yeah. Because it's the best. I remember I was getting an award, and I don't know if these white people give me an award. And I was sitting at a table, and I could tell by the way everybody was ignoring me. They were like, girl, why is this Black girl at her table? And then when they were and the award for the baddest bitch goes to Tiffany, I rose like a phoenix. It was and then of course everybody wanted to be my bestie. I was like, no, bitch, keep it how it was. I love to goop and gag, especially as a Black girl, because they love to think, is that your seat in first class? It is.
It is.
It is.
Yep.
Is that your? Yes. That's me. Who? I remember one time I was literally speaking at a place. I heard a woman say she must be testing the mic. I said, oh. And then when
she must be AV.
Can you imagine? And when it was time for the keynote, I was like, me. Can you imagine? So I love a good Gooper gag. So I love that for you, Justine.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
Natasha, what about you?
Yeah, I was working in higher ed at Columbia University doing undergraduate career counseling. So working with the undergrad students, helping them figure out what they want to do with their life. So I've also been in this kind of career readiness space as well. And my whole career prior to that had been in education nonprofit. So primarily working with low income students of color, college access, that space. I was working at Columbia while we were doing the podcast. And then on the side, I was also running a family run nonprofit. So juggling the 3, trying to do all 3. And I left Columbia when we started making good money at the podcast, I left Columbia to go run the nonprofit and supplement my running of the nonprofit with the money we're making at the podcast. And my goal at the time was, the podcast, oh yes, it's going to be a fun little creative side hustle. I'll make some money, whatever. But I'm going to try to go over to the nonprofit and get a salary, and we're going to fundraise and whatever. And then in the 3 years that I was with the nonprofit, realized how hard it is to fundraise a salary and run a board and run this program with these kids. And our podcast was just like taking off. And so the thing that was my side hustle ended up becoming like, I need to actually put more effort into this thing. So that was, a different, like that was very difficult to kind of like figure out how to navigate these, different passions of mine. And then also kind of have a real moment with myself, like, oh, this podcast is like, this is a real thing that can really be successful, and pay our bills and like, be the main thing. So we left our respective jobs at different times.
Okay.
So you were late.
I went
first,
first.
Justine?
I went first.
Oh, you were first. Okay.
And was doing the nonprofit and doing, the podcast on the side. And then Justine eventually left her job to do full time on the podcast. And then eventually I then left the nonprofit to do the podcast. So like almost had like I almost left my job twice.
Yeah, twice. Yeah, true. Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting just kind of doing it at different times, and then also just like supporting each other through it. Because I think for me and Justine, like I've always been very entrepreneurial. Like I've always known I wanted to work for myself. I've always had little side hustles and businesses, and just knew I was going to work for myself at some point in time. I also come from two parents who run businesses. I've kind of grown up seeing this. So for me, betting on myself was scary, but like it's kind of the only thing I knew that I was going to do ever. And I think Justine, her transition is just different, because I don't think she initially, I mean, you could speak for yourself, but entrepreneurship wasn't something you like strove for. It kind of like happened to you in a sense.
Never. Yes. Yeah, it definitely
How's it feeling?
Still crazy. Still crazy now.
It's been a couple of years since y'all have been flying free?
Yeah, it's been 3.
2 Black girls, 1 rose. 3, okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel, because I would still consider, I don't know what's a side hustle. Is it Brown Ambition or is it my career practice? Like, I don't know. They're the same. Like, it's really like, but I'm just curious, because I'm wondering for y'all, like, when do you feel like, all right, like I'm taking a bet on myself. This is steady as it's going to get. Because I think for sure during the pandemic, starting businesses, especially around podcasting, it became really hot. Like there's literally people who built businesses teaching people how to build a podcast business. And I wonder where a lot of the people who started those shows during the pandemic are today. Are they still around? So for y'all, what do you think, where does that longevity come from for you? And what do you think has been a part of that success of just sticking around and keeping it steady and keeping the income flowing?
I think one of the biggest lessons for me in entrepreneurship that I'm still learning every day, it's like a mantra every day, is that that's not there. It's not steady. Unless you invented Uber or Lyft.
And even then, girl.
It's just not steady. And even then, it's just not it's like not what you think it's gonna. It's not a 9 to 5. If you want steady, go get a 9 to 5. And it triggers my emotions. It triggers my inner child all the time. I grew up in a really, really kind of rough situation with money. I was homeless twice growing up. Like, this is a lot for me to have an income that is so in flux. But I think some of the lessons that I've learned and why me and Natasha are so great together is that she has such faith in the business that she dreams so big for us. And I am the grounder that I'm like, whoa, wait. But I think it's really, really helpful for me and really a blessing for me to work with somebody who comes from entrepreneurship, who believes in entrepreneurship so strongly as Natasha does.
I love that.
That personality dynamic, I think, is key.
Tiff,
I'm I don't know about, I have the secret entrepreneurial.
I was gonna say,
sauce, but I do carry the passion.
Yes, yeah. Well, you know what it is for Mandi and I is a little different because I've been the Budgetnista just turned 16 last week.
Oh my God.
I know. I can't even freaking believe it. I'm like, what the hell? She's a whole teenager with an attitude.
Yes, I have your book on my bookshelf.
And so
I'm gagging with money.
Really?
Yes, I'm gagging with money.
I be gagging myself because I don't even know how I got here. Because to your point, Justine, it is even 16 years in. There's times when I'm like, well, I did the best I could. It's over. I'm like, oh, we another day. So what I learned is that it doesn't get easier, but you get better. And that's what I learned. Like, okay, it's only going to get more challenging or whatever. But what used to freak me out before, it doesn't freak me out, is harder things, bigger things,
Right.
And I learned to create some stability with my personal finances. So the business finances doesn't freak me out as much because I'm like, well, it would take a lot for the Budgetnista might have trouble, but Tiffany has created some financial security for herself. So that helped a lot too. But yeah, I mean, I'm not fit for regular work, now, because I'm like, child, who am I going to work for? Like after 16 years of doing this and like Natasha, I was in education, for a really long time, like 10 years before I switched over here. But as far as Brown Ambition, Mandi, I mean, it's hard for me because like the Budgetnista is the thing that pays all the bills, not just mine, but the team, And so I have Brown Ambition, which I guess I would say Brown Ambition is kind of like my side hustle, but it pulls, but I'm like, it wouldn't be enough to support me. And there's no team here. It's not like, I got to look after Akeisha and Logan and Tracy and Carol and, on the team. So for me, there's like this, I have a hard time sometimes figuring out where to put the energy because the Budgetnista still very much depends on me being there and super present. And so I'm not going to lie, Mandi, sometimes I feel guilty because I'm just like, I can't be here as much.
We are kind of like a married couple sometimes in that, Tiffany and I, we had this, like, say, we haven't, whatever, behind the scenes a little bit, like Tiffany and I recently, the past couple of months, kind of had a discussion about how the show's doing. And I'm constantly like, come on, we are barely scratching the surface of where we could be, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm ready. I'm going to put aside, I'm going to diminish my business, my like personal Mandi money thing so that I can put more energy into the show. It's almost like when you as a couple, like you can't both have a huge business at the same time. Or I mean, you can, but if you have like unlimited resources and tons of support, but even then it puts a strain on the relationship. But to have one person who's willing to be like, I'm going to take a step back in my career so you can go to grad school, do your thing.
And then I feel so bad.
That's kind of how it feels.
Yes.
But you don't need to feel bad because I'm like, but I got to. One of us, I do think you need, I think that's really real.
Yeah. I agree.
What do you think?
I feel you, Tiffany, definitely. When I was running the nonprofit, I often felt a lot of guilt. Feeling like I was like a halfway partner for Justine, particularly after she left her job to do this. And then I'm still like, I don't know, just kind of being dragged along because I was still so committed to the nonprofit and hadn't yet known yet what I was going to do. And so that could definitely be difficult and trying to figure out like, what is the side hustle? What is the real thing? Like, where do I allocate my energy? And it's a lot of energy, just like code switching between the different jobs that you're doing. And so just kind of like realizing that, just like facing that myself and then vocalizing that to Justine. I think once I started being very honest with her about I'm struggling, like, girl, I want to be here, but like I have these 20 kids in this program that I'm also trying to like tend to, like I'm trying to figure this out. And so just letting her in so that she can give me grace or really understand what I was going through. But then, I do agree. Like these relationships, these business relationships, it is almost like a marriage. Like at some point I'm on the up and then I got to support her, or she's on the up and she's got to support me. And I think just like a relationship, the key thing is communication and just being very honest with the other person. So resentment doesn't breed, so that, so that their tension doesn't just bubble underneath the surface, because we're both just trying our best and we both are just going through things in our own respective lives, and we just got to be honest with each other about it.
One thing I feel like that's what I love about like my relationship with Mandi, because we are really open and honest about this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. And it's honestly, Mandy, I don't know if I've ever told you, sometimes you'll ask me like something like, is it okay if I take over this, and that? I'm like, please, because in every area of my life, I'm the big boss.
I know.
Like, because I have several businesses, I'm the big boss
here.
everywhere. I am the big. So it's so nice to be like, just tell me.
It's like a relationship tip. Do you hear yourself? You're like, I'm a baddie in business all the time. So when I come home to Brown Ambition,
babe, tell me what to do, babe.
I'm gonna put in my place.
Exactly. Like, I'm some
Tell me
servant
what
girl.
to do.
I'll sit right here like this. I love it because it's like, because one, I have to trust you, obviously, because girl, you can't. What is it? Jill Scott say, if you could tell me what to do, you could tell me what to do. But if you can't tell me what to do, you cannot tell me what to do.
You can't tell me what to do.
And so I trust Mandy so she can tell me what to do. You know, especially as somebody who is like dominant in every other area. Like here, I'm like, Mandy, I'm more than open to be led. Where do you want me to stand? How do you want it to go? I trust you because I know you're always going to do what's best for both of us. And you're not going to put us in a position that is misaligned with how we want to show up. So yeah, I actually like that. That like here, I don't have to be the boss. You know, I'm here to support and show up but also too, I want to make sure that like, you know, like, cause I know we had our therapist on before, Dr. Jory. I don't want Mandy to feel over
our therapist.
I mean, we have the therapist. I know. We don't have a
I was like, oh, interesting. Tell me more.
No, we have this amazing therapy. You know, therapy for Black girls. The founder, Dr. Joy.
Yeah, Dr. Joy.
Yeah, she is the good therapist now for all of us. You know, meaning like you know, for all the Black girls. But when she came on, I didn't want Mandy to feel that like. Because it came up, Mandy, right? That you thought like, if I don't do all this, that Tiffany won't show up. And I'm like, that's not true. Yeah. I literally show up because you're my friend, you know? And so like, you don't have to do anything to qualify for the friendship. Like that is solidified. And I show up because you're here. And then, you know, the Brown Ambition part is like secondary to me. So yeah, I still carry a little bit of the guilt. Like, is Dad good? Is Daddy good? You know, because I know I ain't had dinner in a minute.
Wow. I think it's just different because I don't ever foresee a time when like there is no, but like you're not going to leave your 9-to-5 being your budgetista business to like go full time. And I don't want that. Like, I think there's a world, it's abundance. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be enough for all of us. But for me right now, I have to prioritize like the two things. I have a book that I'm working on and I can't do business and Brown Ambition and book at the same time. Plus I got these kids. Yep. Who told me to do that? I don't know. And like, so I was like, something's got to go. And I just did not, I can't be Brown Ambition. Yeah. Anywho, I want to hear about this live event though. So how was it? What did you guys learn? Is it good for money? Should we do one?
It was good. It was good. We did
in
not
person?
it was in person. What we have the leverage of doing is not doing a live podcast show. We did a watch party. Okay. So the total of us speaking was probably like 30 to 35 minutes. Probably wasn't even that long.
Because the show is The Bachelor.
The show is The Bachelor.
That's clever.
Yeah. So we just had the venue. What we did learn is we had to test the tech before we get there because the microphones went out. So we were screaming. I'm amazed that we have voices, both of us today, because we were screaming to the back of the theater. It was a lot. But also learned, I don't know about you, Natasha, but I really felt this yesterday. I am a podcaster full time. I am Justine standing on her own. I'm not working for Two Black Girls, One Rose. That's something that I have to learn all the time. Mandy, I don't know if you feel like that all the time, but when people come up to me and they're like, oh my God, congratulations on your engagement, and like all these personal things about me, I'm like, oh, I don't work for Two Black Girls, One Rose. I am it.
Oh, I see what you're
what I'm saying? Yes, okay. That's
switch.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes I really like that separation of like, oh, I work for Two Black Girls, One Rose. It's like the identity, right? It's my drag name. It's my protection. It's my mask, right? But it's not. I'm Justine. They know me. They want to take a selfie with me. Same with Natasha. You know?
Yeah. The parasocial relationship is like on
you
fire.
mentioned like code switching. I don't think we don't think we code switch at all for this show. Maybe to our own. I don't know. It's too exhausting to be. Do you think you're different, Tiffany, in the budgetista space than you are here?
Yeah, because
Maybe
in the
a little bit
budgetista
more
space,
spicy language.
Yeah, well, no, I am a little different here because in the budgetista space, I have to carry everything. So I feel like I like a balloon, I have to inflate my personality more. So like the budgetista is like Tiffany inflated. And so but here I can be more reflective, I can be more quiet,
That's
I can be like,
Tiffany.
but there it's like, girl, if I'm quiet, ain't nobody talking. And so I have to be on more. Where here, there's times when Mandy be talking, I'm just like, yes. So I feel like here I'm more Tiffany than I am budgetista, if that makes sense. Because like I'm talking to my friend, Tiffany is talking to Mandy, her friend here. And so like I don't have to be the budgetista here, which like I said, that's why I really enjoy it, because the budgetista is like me being on, which is cool, but
That's a good point.
it can be, it could be a lot. But as far as code switching, as far as our language and stuff like that, no.
Yeah. And Natasha, do you also feel like kind of weirded out when people know stuff about you and you're like, wait, I guess I did say that on the show?
Yeah,
I guess people do listen.
I know. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, the parasocial relationship is interesting. It was definitely like very highlighted yesterday with meeting people of the community. It was just, I felt a little weird. It's nice meeting people that listen to us. I mean, they only have positive things to say. And there was, a woman who just had a baby and she's like, oh, I listened throughout my whole pregnancy. And another woman lost her sister and was emotional, sharing how this was something that connected her and her sister. Wow. Like, it's beautiful to know what our podcast, Me and Justine Just Kikiing every week, is doing for people on the other side. But yeah, it can be a little strange too, because I feel sometimes very distant, and I kind of like the distance. I like to just say what I need to say, post the clip, cut the little video, put it on Instagram. I generally stay out of the comments. I don't want to read too much. I just kind of almost forget that there's like another side to it. So doing the live event, this is a new space we're going into. It's definitely something that's going to like stretch me in ways and be challenging. But it's not, I would say the cons didn't outweigh the pros. Like, definitely, we had a lot of fun, and it was mostly very positive and really cool to just meet people who just enjoy listening to us, regardless of whether they know things about me or not. Like, it's a little weird, but I can get over it.
I can't wait for our first live show, Tiff. It's going to be. I love it, babe. You can just show up. Don't worry. I'm doing all the wedding planning.
I'm like, which time?
You're going to come home. It's going to be a dress on the bed. Put it on. The Uber's waiting outside.
Oh my God. So can we get to your business a little bit? I would love to get into the business of the business. So because I want people to understand, like, that podcasting can be really lucrative. Like Mandy and I have definitely had 6-figure years and not 6-figure years. Is a podcast, is it a 6-figure business? Is it a 7-figure business? Is it multi-6 figures? You don't have to give us your exact, but like, I know people are curious of like what range like the podcast falls into.
It's a 6-figure buzzbusiness. We're both supporting ourselves full time on this.
Like 6 figures that you get to take home individually, or 6 figures collectively? Look at me, Lud.
Yeah, wow.
I'm the budget. This is the budget. This is the part of the program. I'm like, because it's good for the girlies to know, like, like, look what you can do. Like, I love when I see my niece Amelia or Lily, because, they're like, she's like, I want to be on Netflix, and I was like, why? She's like, I saw you on Netflix. I'm like, or she's like, because I want them to see. It's important to see what's out there. The world will tell you there's only one way for you to be successful. And like, you guys get to be successful being yourself. So I like for people to know, like, the average person, what does the average person make? Like less than $60,000 a year or something like that,
50 something
in America total?
Yeah, I think so.
Or it's statewide. Because I just saw, actually my fiance just told me that the average income in New Jersey went from 65,000 to 90,000 in the course of like 5 years, because of what happened to Jersey City.
Oh, because everybody's just,
damn.
Everybody moved. Everybody moved. And Newark.
I live in Newark
too. Yeah, I was about to say, Tiffany.
Meanwhile, look at me bringing up the average in Newark.
I know. I love that.
Skewing numbers.
No, but I like for people to know that, like, Because people told me when I started, like, my business that, like, oh, you basically can't make good money serving Black women. I'm like, watch me work.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I got that a lot when I was like, this is my audience. So yeah, just curious.
Interesting. Interesting. I think, you know what? I always tell people, especially people who want to go into podcasting and they really want a podcast, because whenever I say I'm a full-time podcaster, that's what people say. Oh my God, I want to get into it. How do you do it? How do you do it? If you have something to say that nobody has said, you have a chance of having a business.
Okay.
If you have not done your competitor research and there is 18 other podcasts that are best friends talking on the cat, then you will not make any, that you're doing it for fun.
Okay.
You're doing it for fun. And also, if you're going into a creative business with the goal of money in mind, you should probably rethink that.
Well, I would do the caveat of, like, if you are coming from a place where you don't have a platform yet, like if you don't already have, because like how many bachelorettes have their own podcast now? Like how many reality stars then like pivot, or like people who have a bit of like a, they have a bit of something. What I love about our show and yours is, like, I think the audience really gets, like, they grow with you. And when you have built the platform alongside them, I don't know, I'm just making it up to make myself feel really good, which is fine. Why not? But I think our fans, the reason, like, they love us, we love them so much, is like we have earned it. They're not just like coming to us from somewhere else. I mean, I guess that's you had a platform, Tiffany. You were growing the Budgetnista alongside it, but you get what I'm saying. Just like building it alongside your audience, and that does take time.
Tremendous, yeah.
Before you are making that kind of money. And I think I don't feel like you have to come into it like, oh, this is not going to be a business, but I do feel like it's a lot easier if you just do it for fun and you're having a good time. Because then, like, the amount of like to be here giving energy, like, to not enjoy it, like you said, when it felt like it was work for y'all, that's I hate that feeling.
We were fortunate because I was my income came from my business, and Mandi had, full-time job. And so it allowed us to do a thing and figure out our way without being like, how are we going to pay these bills? How are we going to, and then one day it started to make money. And I think the first time you were like, we have money. I'm like, where? She's like, in our bank account. I'm like,
we forgot about it.
I was like, we have money? Where's this money coming from? I'm like, that's right. Because we read ads, but you don't really, because it was years. What was it? How many years in, Mandi, before even like at least 4 years, 5 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were like,
it definitely takes time. I mean, Justine and I, we work really hard, and we're still not making nearly as much as we want to be making. And we've been doing this for 6 years. I think podcasting is very much the wild, wild west. Agencies are figuring out what the hell they're doing. Podcasts are figuring out what the hell we're doing. We've shifted our business model 2-3 times. We're figuring things out. So it's a lot of like trial and error, experimenting, giving different agencies and managers and different people a chance, trying different opportunities, just seeing what sticks. And we work really hard, and it's not 9 to 5. It's a 24. It's around the clock.
24/7.
Our editor lives in Toronto. She was in Vancouver before. We were working on different time zones and trying to, respond to her late nights to make sure she has what she needs. And so we work hard, and we're not making what we want to make yet, but we're figuring it out, and we still have longevity to be doing this 6 years in and supporting each of our lives. I'm about to buy a house. She's getting married. Like, we're, we try to stay grateful for what we do have, even though it's not everything that we want.
Girl, the coin is cute already. Okay. But I mean, I get it, like I get it. Like, but no, that is tremendous. What is it? The average business doesn't last 2 years. And then and then after that, there's like literally, like I think more than 50% of businesses fail after 2 years. And then there's another cliff at year 5. So
that cliff was wild at 5.
Yes. Year 5 was so crazy.
5 was crazy. We felt it at 5. Our 5-year anniversary dinner, we had a private lounge. We went all out. We lasted 5 years. Woo! Man.
And then once you start and to your point, Justine, like you said before, you have to adjust your expectation that it's going to be like, one day I'll be like, it's all good. No, because I mean, I think about like Lord and Taylor, where's she at? Sears, girl,
man,
right? Toys R Us, Hollow, if you hear me, like,
damn.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no such thing as Steve Jobs said it best. He said, at some point, every business closes. But the key is like what you're doing, the pivot, right? That's really important. That if you can say, hey, this business model was working, but now we are pivoting to a different business model because the audience has shifted or technology has shifted. I think that people who are going to make it in business in general is those who get really good at pre-pivoting. It's like not waiting for external to force your hand to kind of like time travel a little bit. Be like, I feel like I'm hearing the girls whisper about, you know, like whatever this thing is, and you start the work now. So by the time it really gets rough, you're like, I already have a year of working. We're just making that transition. And so folks who are really good at pre-pivoting, like those are the ones who really get to last a long time.
Yeah. And also like
pre-pivot,
being okay to pivot too. Like we've had to swallow some, you know, tough bills with going one direction and realizing this ain't working. It's just not working. You just got to pivot.
What's an example? What hasn't worked?
I think our recent like shifting our business model. Or actually I'll talk about our mission. For 5 years we were a bachelor podcast. After a while that wasn't working for us. Our audience will eat up bachelor content all day long, but for Justine and I, as individuals personally, we wanted to mature the brand and we wanted to talk about other things than just The Bachelor. And so not to say that our model wasn't working and the mission wasn't working, but it wasn't working for us personally. So we needed to pivot and be okay with that. And that was a bit scary because we didn't want people to jump ship, but we had to do what was best for us to continue to maintain the business and have fun and still do it. So yeah, there's definitely, I think with entrepreneurship, a big thing is just learning when to swallow the pill and say, you know what, we got to go a different direction and be okay with that and feel the scariness of it, but know that it's going to be okay on the other side once you know, bust through.
So has there been a dip, or do you notice like the Bachelor pod episodes are like still the hottest and then like the other ones are behind or like growing? Is that what it's been difficult, I guess?
You know what it is really is access. As long as people have access to what we are covering, we are pretty successful with it. So that's why Netflix has been so successful with us, because so many people have access to Netflix. So really our top show is actually Love is Blind. Love is Blind.
Yeah, I'm saving y'all to go back.
See?
Love is Blind.
See? Like that's where we get so
Maybe that's
much
why
traction.
I don't watch The Bachelor, because what channel is it on?
ABC. It's on ABC.
And where do you watch it if you don't have ABC? Like
watch it
on VPN
from
Hulu.
On Hulu.
But you have to have Hulu.
Right, well, there you go.
You have to have Hulu.
Hulu's like, don't play me. Stop.
Yeah.
Hulu's like, damn, you was like Netflix, but Hulu.
No, Hulu's got me because they got me from Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy is on Hulu, so that's where I got to catch. That's what they got me from. Interesting, because we've only been ad based. It's been like because we've just been like, oh, this is fun money, but I don't want it to be fun money anymore. I wanted to pay for my kids' college education. Thank you very much.
It can,
and that can't happen if we're just getting ad revenue, especially in this economy with like the changes to the algorithm and like how downloads have been impacted and stuff like that. So I'm really interested in like the different ways. So we haven't done a Patreon. Tiffany has, because she's smart and she's in charge of her business. She's not in charge of this. I got to catch up. We need to be on Patreon. And then the live events, I mean, that to me is not a sustainable like long-term revenue, because it requires so much of us in person. And I think Tiffany and I, like, if we're going to do it, it has to be like really meaningful, big, like, I don't know, just special. But yeah. And then I think brand partnerships and doing like all around deals with a brand versus having like, will you sponsor a 30-second spot on our show? No, I want Brown Ambition brought to you by Mitsubishi.
Sounds good. I'll take it.
From your lips to
Them
God's
foreign
ears.
cars run. Sounds good.
No, but it's true.
I don't know where on earth that came from. Shea Moisture or whatever.
No, I love a good shame.
Yeah.
And you're right, Patreon, because I have a Patreon for business owners. So it's not personal finance, but so many people are like, oh my gosh, you've run so many successful businesses, Tiffany. You know, can you be my mentor? And I was like, I mean, and I do have mentees. I have about like 10 mentees that I talk to on the phone. And then I have half of my friends are business owners. And so even today I was like meeting with a woman who, you know, she has some big business, but then she was asking me all these questions. It's supposed to be a 15-minute meeting. An hour later, I was like, and call this person and ask for this person. And here's an email I can send. Because being in business for so long, there's so much access. And I'm just like, girl, who's gatekeeping? Not me. don't be brown and you're in business. I'm
yeah.
like, here you go, all the things, so you don't mess up like I did. So I got that question. So I bought the domain mymentortiffany.com. And I sent them to Patreon, and then I launched it. I was like, the girls are like, it was like $10 a month. I'm like, are they going to sign up? 2,500 people signed up in 24 hours. Do the math on that. 2,500. That's
wow.
Yes. So it was like a $250,000 a year business from like out the gate, and then I've since raised it to $20 a month, and it's still around. Like,
how much is 2 Black Girls 1 Rose Patreon?
Yeah. How much is it?
We have 5, 10, 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, 3 tiers.
And it gets you 3 different levels of content.
I used to have
access.
like 3 tiers, but it got to be, because that's not my main focus of business, it got to be too overwhelming to try to provide. So I'm like, everybody get the same thing. Yeah. And so, but yeah, it's a cute, I used to think that like the Patreon was a cute coin until last year, and the coin was needed. I was like, hey girl, wake up. I'm in a bunch of these things doing what we need you. Tap in. But yeah, so I love that, like adding these kind of like add-ons, and like you just never know what the thing is that people are going to really, sometimes enjoy.
And I think too, for us, because we've had a Patreon for so long, because we've been in the podcast business for so long, I'm sure it's the case with you all too. Our audience trusts us to a level that they don't trust other people. And that's why I'm excited for brand sponsorships and brand partnerships, because I'm excited for these brands to work with us and our audience to make sure that they are getting the best product they can. Because I do not want to lie to people. Like Tiffany, I think that's why you're so successful, because you don't gatekeep, and there's so many people who do. And so many people don't have that access, and so many people trust you. And I really want that for Natasha and I, especially with our individual verticals. Natasha, you all can't see her apartment, but it is absolutely beautiful. She's buying a house. I cannot wait for the interior decoration. You guys cannot see my HD face. I'm a real makeup girl. I cannot wait to talk about doing my makeup for my wedding. I can't wait to talk about the hair for my wedding, and our individual verticals, and getting into those and getting into brand partnerships with those, because we are committed to not lying to these people, because we haven't for 6 years. So.
Black women, though, like we talk about, like we're constantly putting each other on. And I think, I don't want to say we're a slept on marketplace, but like, I don't think, and we know this, even our network, I'm like, you're not doing it right. Like we could be going after these brands, getting these kinds of deals, because you don't understand our people. Like when we come, like the value isn't just like it's like in how many people are going to actually be excited to get the thing, cop the thing that you are using or excited about.
Me and Mandy be saying no to all things. And I love it, Mandy. I don't think we've ever not, because they'll send us the email. We're like, now. And I'm like, oh, look at Mandy right behind me now. Like when it comes to a brand, like, now you tried it. Nope. And so like, I love that we're always on the same page of like what we're willing to be like, oh, I like them, versus like, who, what elixir? Girl. So the girls can lose their edges? No.
Supplements, waist trainers.
Like,
oh my God. So much with like communication, Justine and I just kind of trust each other and each other's strengths. So I would say Justine is like very much like our CFO, money, finances, budgets, projections, data, numbers, measuring our success. Like I totally trust her in that space, because I don't trust myself in that space. So just letting her lead in those areas, and lead us in those areas. And then, I think for me, I could see myself as like the COO, like overseeing our like operations, onboarding team members, onboarding us to new systems, setting up our meeting agendas, staying on top of all the things that we're doing at any given time. And I think, just like project management, that's like an area that I strive in. I think Justine leans on me. And so just having respect for each other's strengths have allowed us to not have a lot of friction when it comes to division of labor, and having different strengths as well. So it's not like I'm not like a finance person too, and I'm trying to like fight with her on it. So I think that's been really, might not be the easiest for all partners, but for us, we've just had very clear strengths and have allowed each other just to breathe into those strengths. That was one thing I was thinking about.
And is it straight 50-50 down the middle for like revenue and profits?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
With that face, you're like, oh, sometimes.
No, because I was thinking for division of labor, like you can't really judge if it's 50-50.
You can't. Yeah.
So again,
that's a good point. Like releasing, I think when we did our articles in incorporation, we put something like that, but it's also like, you trust that you're each like pulling your the amount of weight that you're pulling.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
And you also don't need to check up on each other. Like you trust that you are doing the things that you're doing. And it's not like, hey, Justine, like, where's that report or where's this? And like having to catch up with you. And I think for some business partnerships, there is that like, wait, are they, because we are friends, there's like, you're not wanting to give it your all, almost like you're showing up a little bit late or like, oh, you know, we're friends, like they'll forgive this. This is a little bit sloppy. And I always said about Tiffany and I, the fact that we weren't really close in the beginning almost helped because we weren't close enough to flake on each other. Like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah. I think I mean, I love Justine like a sister, and we just have a lot of respect for each other. And we're both smart people, and we both are hungry. We both want this. We both made sacrifices for this business. So I have to just trust in her, you know, and she has to trust in me. And we both know that we're each pulling each other's weight, and we're fighting for this business, and we're fighting for each other, you know, because we both have personal lives and things we want to do in our life. And a lot of it depends on this business. And so yeah, I think it really just having tremendous respect for each other, and not taking things personal, being really good with receiving feedback and giving feedback. I think we've definitely nurtured that in our relationship, that we're at a space now that I can just speak very openly and honestly, and likewise to her. Like, here's an idea, Justine, you like it? And she'd be like, bitch, that is stupid. So let's try it like this. Like, maybe not in that way, but like she'll tell me honestly. And then there's other times I give an idea and she's like, yeah, let's try it, whatever. Like just having that, being able to have that clear of communication is really special. And that's taken time, but that's also been just like at the core of it, we just respect each other and we can't take it personally.
I think that's such a great way to end the show. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Again, check out Justine and Natasha, 2 Black Girls, 1 Rose. They do way more than the Bachelor content. I mean, I'm going to go back. I'll check up on Love is Blind. You guys also make me feel better about watching that kind of trash, because I'm like, if I'm going to have an educated conversation
it's not trash.
Listen.
Quality television.
Yes. And we have to. I mean, we can't all be this close and not have lunch. You know?
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
We got a few financial questions.
You know, we got some podcast questions. We gonna do
absolutely
a mashup lunch.
No, absolutely, yes, for sure.
All right, y'all. So if you love this episode, and you know you did, go ahead and share, and leave us a review, because we love reviews. All right. Hey, BA fam, we're on YouTube. Woohoo! Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And while you're at it, why don't you go over to that little bell icon and just tap that for us. Show the BA fam how much you love us. And that way you'll also get notifications when new videos drop. Also, share the channel with a friend. We're always like, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And thank y'all so much again for all the support.